Hello, and welcome to this Unity tutorial on linear navigation using buttons. I've gone ahead and created two scenes, Scene 1 and Scene 2. For the purposes of the video, the content of the scene is not what matters. We're just going to be creating the buttons that are going to allow us to transition back and forth between them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go up to the high-level assets folder, and if you don't have a script folder already, go ahead and right-click in there, create and folder, and let's call this scripts. Inside of the scripts folder, go ahead and create a brand new C# script, and we're going to call this level manager. We don't want to call it scene manager because Unity already has a built-in scene manager class, and we don't want to override that class. Okay, so we created the script level manager. Let's go ahead and open it up. So here we see level manager. Now, if you're not familiar with all of this stuff that is inside of the Unity C# script, that is not a problem at all. I would encourage you to take a look at our scripting fundamental videos, which is part 1 through 4 as of today, focusing on what the C# programming language is, how it is used in Unity, as well as an introduction to some fundamental concepts such as creating variables, methods, and using existing Unity classes. Okay. So for this, we actually don't need the start and update function, so let's delete that out of the level manager. And we're going to go ahead and create a new function. First, it's going to be public because we want other scripts and members to be able to access this function. It's going to be void because it's not going to return anything, it's simply going to execute some code. And then let's call this go to scene 2. Because the purpose of this function is we're going to write the code that's going to transition from scene 1 to scene 2, parentheses after the method name, and then open up your curly brackets and press enter. Alright, so to be able to transition to the next scene, we have to use the Unity Engine scene management. So we're going to say using Unity Engine dot scene management. Now, we cover a little bit more about what these are. A really good way to think of them is they're kind of like libraries. Like if you were to go to Park Library and check out a book, well, we're essentially doing the same thing. I'm saying, hey, I need from the scene management in the Unity engine, I'm going to be referencing a specific class in there, which is going to be the scene manager. Because right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say scene manager dot load scene. And then because it's a method, we have to put parentheses. Just like when we created the method name up here, we had to put parentheses. When we invoke a method by doing the name of the class dot that method, we also have to put parentheses to match that. And then inside of the parentheses, we're going to put double quotation marks. And then what is the name of the scene? Well, if we take a look at Unity, and let's go back to the scenes folder, I have scene 1 and scene 2. If you have your own custom project, you know the names of your scenes. So whatever the second scene is that you want to go to, that's the name that you're going to put here. So I'm going to put scene 2 just like that. Perfect. So now what we need to do is we're going to come back to Unity, and let's go ahead and create an empty game object inside of scene 1. Now the reason why we're creating this empty game object is we need an object that's going to more or less act as our level controller. We have this level manager script here, and we're going to go ahead and add that on there. And let's also change the name of this object to level manager or level controller. Whatever you choose, just keep that consistent naming. Okay, so we have this level manager object now that has the level manager script on it. And what we need to do now is, well, we need to set up that button. So we're going to go ahead and create a button. So if you don't have a canvas yet in your scene, don't worry at all. Go ahead and go up to the Game Object menu, UI, and there select Button. Now the button is in the center of the screen by default. I'm going to actually position it and put it at the bottom. So here we can see the anchor points of it. So what we're going to do is, in the inspector, this icon here, go ahead and select it in the rect transform. We're going to set the pivot and the position. So we're going to hold down Shift and Alt on your keyboard. So Shift, Alt, and then go ahead and click this bottom one. That's going to set the pivot and position of this button at the very bottom. The next thing I'd like to do is drop down the little drop down menu next to the button in the hierarchy, select the text, and I'm going to change the text just to say go to scene 2, because that's what this button is going to do. Now, the button at the end of the day is really just an image with a button script on it. If we take a look at the button in the hierarchy, we see the image. You could change the image to whatever you want by selecting this little circle in the source image and selecting something else. The button also has the button script on it, which is what actually gives the button its functionality, and this is where we are going to be handling the button events. So we have the level manager, and it has a function, and that function basically says, I need you to load up scene 2, and remember, we're currently in scene 1. So with the button selected in the hierarchy, locate this on-click section right below the button component, go ahead and click the little plus sign, and then what we're going to do is drag the level manager directly into this object. So again, drag the level manager into this slot here on the on click, and then what this is saying is during the runtime only, I would like you to go ahead and load to scene 2. So to do that, we're going to select the level manager from the function dropdown, and then go ahead and select go to scene 2. Perfect. So that should be all set. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Alright, here's my go to scene 2 button. If I click on it, it doesn't work. The reason why is if we take a look in the console, it says scene 2 could not be loaded because it has not been added to the build settings. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the build settings by going to File, Build Settings, and we don't have any scenes in our build. Eventually we're going to build this project to an executable, and every scene that we want packaged and shipped with the exe needs to be inside of this menu here. So go ahead and locate your scenes and then drag them in order, scene 1, scene 2, of the scenes that you would like to go to. Okay, let's try that again now. Now we'll select go to scene 2, and you'll notice that we changed to scene 2 there. What happens if we want to be in scene 2? Let me save this one and go back to scene 1. Well, you can imagine we're going to do the same thing. You'll create the button, you'll create the level manager like we did before, and then I would create a new function just like this, except this one is going to be go to scene 1. And then instead of scene 2, of course, we would have scene 1. And then from the drop-down list, we would select go to scene 1. So go ahead and give that a try. One of the last things that I would like to talk about with respect to linear navigation is one of the issues that people run into quite often is accidentally deleting the event system. If you delete the event system, please don't do this, and you run your scene, you'll notice that the button is not going to work at all. That's because the event system is responsible for handling that mouse input onto the Unity canvas. So we can easily solve that by adding in the event system by selecting Game Object, UI, and Event System if it ever gets accidentally deleted from your scene. So again, create your button, create the script with the function to load to the next scene, attach that script to a component in the scene in the hierarchy, and then reference that in the on click of the button, and then set the function to go to the next scene, and then make sure to add the scenes to your Unity build. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or your instructor for more direct help. Thank you very much.